I have my buyers get pre-qualified before we go looking at properties. And I have to tell you, if they don't want to do that, then I don't want to show them properties. How long does it actually take, and what do buyers need to do to get pre-qualified? You did talk a little bit about that, but what I want to touch on, and maybe you can talk about this too, is I understand the resistance to, I don't want to get pre-qualified. I know how much I have. I can do this. I've got a loan officer back wherever. But back in my rookie days when I first started and didn't pre-qualify people, I would find that they either were looking at properties that they couldn't afford and then they would get heartbroken, or they were looking at a price point that was very limiting because they could go higher very comfortably, and sometimes it was a surprise to them. They have a resistance to getting pre-qualified, and just want to know, like, when they give you a call, what is that call like? You're not throwing them up against the wall and grilling them for 10 hours, I assume.
I think the key thing is really encouraging people to understand sometimes our market. We are in a very hot market in Hawaii, and we have been for a number of years. We are in an accelerating market. We have limited inventory. And it's really something that I try in that real estate background that I have in my past to support you, is to really encourage clients who call in to understand that the best that they can be prepared is going to really give them a head start on writing any offers. What I generally like to do, I am a communicator, and I think that I'm an over communicator sometimes, but I really like to make that phone call. Actually, a lot of people just to do things on email, but I really try to encourage a phone call so that we can talk through that process, so I can help them understand what it's going to look like when they are here, what kind of market it is, what financial reform has done to the lending world. Some people haven't had a loan in many years. They're here on vacation, they're retiring, and they don't really have an understanding of all the changes that have happened since 2008. So I really encourage them on a phone call to walk through the process, to help them understand how long it's going to take, what it is going to be. So I think a lot of it is really encouraging them to see that this is not a commitment to lend. We don't pull credit necessarily out the gate. It's really just a documentation process. It's also really going to put them as a leg up on getting pre-qualified, or what I, of course, like is pre-approved. So pre-qualifying is, a client telling me what they make, what they have for bills, what their liabilities are. It's not really very solid, as you know. That's just not validated. So our pre-approval process, which I always encourage, is that validation, and that is the documentation. Clients look at their documentation different from a lender. So a lot of times it might be on their income, it might be on their assets. And then I also can look at their documentation for red flags. Maybe they transfer funds to different accounts. Maybe they have some side income type jobs that can impact their qualifying. They might have had some gaps in employment. So all of those things are really important to look at to really give that solid pre-approval, so that when you write that offer, that all of that has been reviewed.
And that has happened as well, where when you're looking at their finances and from a different lens, and of course a knowledge base that they don't have, and we've had the experience before where people have been like, okay, we didn't know about this and we need to get this cleaned up, we're going to be back next year. And I'm like, yeah, no problem, just keep reading my blog, keep up with what's happening with Kauai real estate and next year. And that has happened. And so it's almost like they're doing themselves a service by getting that financial look to see how comfortable this is going to be for them. Yep.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think the thing that also ends up happening with those clients, as we know, on a small island with a lot of real estate agents that we know and lenders that we know, I think it really has shown, especially in some of the clients that we have worked with, that perspective where you want to have a solid pre-approval. I want to have a solid pre-approval. We really then know that we can go forward with that transaction. And we know that we are likely going to close on that, barring an unusual circumstance. So my goal is always, again, my real estate background is that when they put pen to paper, writing that offer, that I can provide a solid approval for you, where really hopefully the only thing that's left to work out is the property issues, appraisals and inspections and that kind of thing. But the buyer should really be very solid once they write that offer, in my opinion.